And Bob Weigel again here, and we're going to continue our evidence versus proof discussion here in Logical Theology 101. Now, proof, as we said, is basically going to be experienced. Absolute proof is kind of a redundancy. You know, there's words like we modify them to reinforce what the word already means. Proof is proof. You know, it's over. You can't say partial proof. That's just evidence. It's silly to, you know, proof means it's proven. Okay, that's undeniable to the beholder. Now, proof isn't always transferable, but that doesn't mean it's not valid to the beholder. People who delve into science deeply and really ascertain the entire picture of some particular thing in nature, and they are able to prove some aspect of nature through this experience that they go through in the research. They see it crystal clear and they know this is absolutely true. However, some other person is just taking their word for it, and while they may respect the person, to them that becomes evidence. They look at the credentials of the person, they say, he probably wouldn't lie, and there's a lot of other people who agree with him, so this is probably true. However, that's not an absolute given. Sometimes people have various motivations, and they will lie to you, they will forge their research, they will doctor their research, and this has been documented to have happened in various cases in the academic community in the past. So you can't completely count on whatever you see as proof, one person claiming proof. It may or may not be the case. You have to experience that for yourself in order to be able to say, this is proven to me. Okay, so evidence, though, can lead us to a place of having functional proof. In some cases, you know, there are scenarios which can pan out to where there is just enough evidence to where it's staggering, and there's just, you surmise there's just no way this could not be true. But let's talk about some of the evidence is anything which lends support. If it lends support to a notion, a hypothesis, then this would be considered evidence. And some of the things would be testimonies. When somebody testifies that something is true, you evaluate that testimony, and you evaluate many things about the person, perhaps their qualifications, their experience, their motives, their hypothetical motives. Because you can't see inside of the person, and if that's all you have to go on, you have to begin to, look at some of the logically associated things that you would make as an evaluation over the top of this claim that this person is bringing to you. So, but testimonies are still something that have to be considered, and they alert us to look for more evidence. We can't, hinge our decision purely on a single witness. Multiple witnesses, however, if it's a complex issue and multiple witnesses had no way to communicate to each other, let's say, and they saw a crime, one from here and one from inside of a house, and we witnessed the two people where they were, but we didn't see the crime, okay? And so we're trying to figure out what happened, and we interview the first person and we interview the second person in the house, and assuming that they weren't complicit in the crime and had made this story up before, we want to consider that possibility too and evaluate whether that is a possibility. But assuming that that is not the case, then it's probably, if it's a complex situation and two people describe it precisely the same, it's pretty much proof, because the odds of that happening are staggering. To have a detail of a complex event and two people to describe it exactly the same, that's really significant, okay? Correlating findings. Statistical analysis of aspect, process of elimination, motivational analysis, and statistical analysis of successive plausibilities. These are a few of the things we're going to discuss in this in this series. But anyway, I just want to give a brief introduction here. We only have so much time on a video, and I don't want to bore anybody terribly much. So we'll continue the rest of this on our next series. But consider as you do the Gospels regarding just the witness aspect here. For instance, some people say they aren't historical documents. Well, they're somebody's story, that's for sure, and for something to qualify as history, there are various things that are placed upon that, usually by authorities in a society who often have very corrupt motives, and they often hide parts of history that are actually valid, and they say, well, that's not history. Well, of course, the things that Jesus Christ did were absolutely counter-motivational to humans as a whole, telling people to die to their own self, I mean, it ruins capitalism, telling people not to save up for tomorrow. I mean, that's what our economy is based on. It's based on people speculative buying and stashing stuff away, and just a huge amount of our economy is based on people buying the latest thing and then never using it stuff. So, Jesus' commands run counter to business interests. They run counter to all kinds of human interests, self-preservation interests when you wind up, because somebody always wants to kill you eventually, like they did Jesus, when you start following the things that he taught. So these things considered, we want to really look at these testimonies and consider, why would they do this? We want to consider the motivation behind it. If somebody's fabricating this, why would they do it? But then we look at the actual testimonies and we see these anomalies in there, and we realize that, for instance, they said there's 2 angels at the tomb. In one instance, they said there's 1 angel at the tomb in another. Now, you would say, aha, look, there's a contradiction, but, these are 2 different people just observing an event. And so, it just might be that the angel was affronting one person, and he was so dazzled by it that he didn't notice there was an angel off behind over here, whereas the other person was standing back a ways and observed the scene as the other person saw just the 1 angel. Or, angels can manifest selectively according to the Bible. They don't just show up whenever you want them to, necessarily. Elijah, for instance, or excuse me, Elisha, the Tishbite. Somebody's honking outside. I hope it's not for me. Anyway, but he was trying to show the servant this army of angels, and he had to pray that the Lord would open his eyes. And you'll find that in Kings, one of the Kings books. I'll have to look at the reference there. But just look it up on Google, you'll find it, I'm sure. And he is able to see, after he prays for him, that God would open his eyes. So you can't always just see what's going on in the spirit realm until your spirit is quickened to receive that communication according to the Bible. And so we have a fluent testimony there. There's no break in the testimony, and that's what we're looking for. If this is a fabrication, we're going to find breaks in the testimonies across 40 different authors, or there's too many people writing here. Somebody's going to do something klutzy, or somebody is going to make a ganker where they claim something in the physical realm and they attribute to physical causes, and it's impossible provably. Okay, those kind of things. If those existed, the Bible would be a laughing stock today, because it certainly doesn't say anything that is pro-human motivation. It's very anti-human motivation in general, and it calls the people who follow after Jesus to die to themselves and to lay down their own life, and for the cause of exalting Him, for the cause of bringing others to know Him. And this is not the kind of thing that just feeds a person's pride or makes them think they're going to have good things in this life. And they see the history, and Jesus promised that they will not have. He said, anybody who follows me is going to be persecuted. They hated the master of the house. How much more will they hate the servant? Okay, Bob Weigel signing off.